We are speaking now with Menashe Amir, a leading Israeli expert on Iran. First of all, Menashe Amir, we've had this rather dramatic news about two Iranian Navy ships passing through the Suez Canal and bound for Syria, and this against the backdrop of a new wave of anti-regime demonstrations when thousands of demonstrators are again taking to the streets in the wake of the Egyptian upheaval. What do you make of these latest developments?
There is no connection between the two matters that you have mentioned. The Iranian army, I would say the Iranian military forces, they have always tried to extend their possibilities and having more countries and longer distances under their supervision and as an area of action. And the fact that Iran wanted to send warships to Mediterranean Sea was announced at least a year ago when Iran tried to help the Palestinians in Gaza and wanted to send a ship to help them. And this is not yet an action of war, but it may develop little by little and to be so. The 2 or 4 ships that Iran wants to send to Mediterranean Sea, they are called training for a training of sailors in Iran. The purpose is to train them, and Iran said that it may take 1 whole year of training these staff in the Mediterranean Sea, and this can be a first step of the Iranian permanent presence in Syrian ports and even in Lebanon. One more thing to be concerned about is that by ships, Iran can send many kinds of ammunition and weapons to these two countries. And even if they will not get the permission to pass the Suez Canal, they can do it by surrounding the African continent. The Iranian Navy wants to extend its possibilities and to be an executive arm of the Iranian foreign policy and religious ideology.
Meanwhile, back in the streets of Tehran, thousands of demonstrators are again on the move, and they are demanding a regime change in the wake of what has happened in Egypt. Now, I recall after the election in 2009 and the demonstrations then, you said that the demonstrators would be back. You've proved to be right, but how serious are these latest demonstrations?
It's serious in two senses. First, the Iranian protest action took place in spite of all the suppressive measures that are taken by the regime. The Iranians went to streets by tens of thousands to demonstrate and to give the slogan Mubarak ben Ali, Nobat Sayyid Ali. It means that Mubarak went, Zain al-Abidin ben Ali left, and now it's the turn of Khamenei, the leader of Iran. They did it, and this is very sensitive and very meaningful, that all these suppressive measures of the regime didn't help to prevent it. The second point that we have to mention is that this time, in spite of what happened in June 2009, the Iranians are not alone. The Iranians are a part of the social and political revolution which happens in the Middle East and in Arab countries. The Iranians say that I am not less than the Egyptian or the Tunisian. I have the same demands, and if they go to streets, I have the full right to go to do the same. The change of the American policy towards the Iranian protests. Obama kept silent on June 2009 when the Iranians have been suppressed so cruelly by the regime. At the time, 160 Iranians have been killed. by the police and the anti-riot units of the regime in Iran. And we didn't hear not a serious reaction from the American administration, because at the time Obama was waiting for the positive answer of Iran about the American nuclear propositions, which didn't come, and every experienced diplomat could be sure that the Iranian answer will be negative. But this time we heard President Obama supporting very loudly and clearly the Iranian protest actions.
But will the tough talk by Obama now and Secretary of State Clinton, will it be enough? Because the difference between Iran and Egypt seems to be that in Egypt, and also for that matter in Tunisia, there was a critical mass. The vast majority of Egyptians wanted the regime change, whereas in Iran, it doesn't seem to be all that clear-cut that the regime does have quite a massive support from parts of the Iranian population.
No, it's not true at all. It's not at all true. Let what Mir Hossein Mousavi said, give 1 day of freedom of speech, 1 day, not more, to the people of Iran to see what's the percentage of the people who support the regime. According to my assumptions, the supporters of the regime today in Iran are something around 20%, and surely not more than 30%. And you cannot compare military forces in Egypt who went with the protesters with the Iranian suppressive armed force like Pastaran, the Revolutionary Guards, who press and prevent any act of protest. So what happened in Iran on Monday was bigger and more serious than anybody, including me, could forecast.
But on the other hand, the regime, and we even saw it in the Iranian parliament, is threatening to kill Mir Hossein Mousavi and Mahdi Kaoubi, the leaders of the opposition. Is this not a sign of how far the regime is ready to go, the army is ready to go, in order to preserve the regime?
This was a sign, a shameful sign of helplessness of the regime in Iran. It's shameful, really shameful, to see that in the parliament, the deputies stand up and shout death to Mousavi, death to Karoubi. It means that nobody in Iran supports them. The suppressive actions will continue in Iran, there is no doubt. But on the other side, the Iranians are today more encouraged than they have been a year ago to continue the acts of protest, and will wait for another day and another occasion to go again to the streets. The fact that the United States, not only by words but by actions, is supporting the Iranian protest actions, it's very encouraging, even if it's very small and limited today. And the internet and Twitter and Facebook and the technological possibilities that the United States is providing today, not only for Iran, but for other countries too, will help the Iranian citizens to voice their demands and to be encouraged and to accelerate their actions in the future.
Would this also be the time to start another move for stiffer sanctions at the UN?
No doubt about it. I have all the time said that the assumption that tougher sanctions against Iran will push the Iranian citizens towards the regime is not true. And there is no doubt that at this situation, any enlargement of international sanctions will help the Iranian people and not will act against their demand and push them towards the regime itself.
In light of what you've been saying, Menashe Amir, do you believe, as Shimon Peres apparently does, that it will not take intervention in Iran to stop the nuclear weapons program, but the Iranian people themselves are going to stop the regime and that will put an end to the nuclear weapons program?
That's exactly the prize that the international community will get by supporting the Iranian protest against the regime. I believe that only the Iranians themselves can do the next revolution, but they need external help. And when I speak about help, I don't mean soldiers, I don't mean ammunition or arm. I mean technological and financial and political and moral and social support for the Iranians, just to help them, just to prove to them that they are not alone. They have the support of international community, and it will be very useful. And once the regime in Iran will be changed, there will be less concern and much less danger about the Iranian nuclear programs. And maybe it will be a chance to stop them. I believe that when real national regime will change the actual regime in Iran, the national interest will oblige them to stop the nuclear program.
Menashe, Amir, thank you very much indeed.